please go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Karin Frame. I'm the CEO and founder of Makeena. I'm a three-time founder, a recovering attorney, and a former CPA. And I live in Boulder, Colorado.
Awesome. And you've got a story to share with us today. Where in the world does this story begin?
It begins on Manard Lake in Champaign, Illinois, back in the 1970s. My dad grew up, well, he grew up in Illinois, but he brought us back to Champaign, Illinois, because he was a professor there. And I grew up on a lake, and it was across the street from a cornfield that was sprayed with pesticides every year. That's only part of my story. You want to hear the rest?
Tell me more. Yeah, keep diving
Okay.
in.
Oh, keep diving in. So during that time, everybody in my family got sick. And I knew that it was the pesticides that were being sprayed across the street that were going into the lake, killing all the fish, killing the muskrats, everything else. So I had this epiphany that, everybody really needs to understand what's going into their food and into the products that they use. And that's really a huge part of my story. There's other stuff too, as to the reason why I built Makeena. My former husband was an organic farmer. So I learned a lot about buying better during my days with him. I wrote this book in second grade where I said that I wanted to be a lawyer because I wanted to feed all the starving children in Africa. I was super great at computer science in college. I got A pluses, actually. I learned mathematics, social studies, English on a touchscreen system way back when in the 60s and 70s. And so I knew that computers were going to be huge. And I knew that I needed to know how to code, and that, it was going to change my life and everybody else's life.
So I want to go back to the farm.
Yeah.
You're a little girl at this time,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
How old do you think?
10. I was 10.
So how was it like the talk of the town that the pesticides were the issue, or was that some like astute observation as a 10-year-old? How did you know that it was the pesticides, or even did you see them spraying them one day, or you saw like a
Oh,
poisoned fish or something? Like, how did you
oh,
surmise that it was the pesticides as a 10-year-old little girl in
yeah.
rural?
Yeah. Well, so the crop dusters would spray across the street on the corn and on the soybeans, right? And all of that stuff would go into the lake, which was just absolutely disgusting because my little brother and I used to swim in that lake all the time. We used to fish in the lake. We used to, unfortunately, drink the water because you would dive in. We'd pay king of the raft or whatever. And it was just absolutely disgusting. It smelled awful. And there would be all these dead things floating on the top of the lake. So, yeah, lots of things. My stepmom got MS. She's now dead. My dad had a major issue and is now dead. One of my little brothers is gone, the little brother that I used to swim in the lake with all the time, David. And my other little brother is sick. And a lot of people around the lake got very sick and died. Oh, yeah.
Your little brother right now is sick, and are they able to back into that and realize that it was from like, are there tests that they can do to find out that it was from the stuff that they were spraying on the corn all those years ago? How do you work that back and link those things together?
Well, it was Monsanto. So there's, a lot of studies out there. And Monsanto is owned by Bayer. There's been a lot of cover up. There's been a lot of litigation, a lot of lawsuits. But going back all those years, I don't think you could do anything to recover any sort of damages for that. But, Aaron's just got a lot of various issues, but he was about 4 or 5 when he and my stepmom left Champaign, Illinois, and went to St. Louis. My dad just had hemorrhaged out of the back of his throat. So, um, yeah. So he wasn't there as long as my other brother David and I were there. And David and I were there all the time because he and my mom share joint custody. But, yeah, I ended up getting thyroid cancer. So I have no more thyroid. You can kind of see my scar still. It was cut out. And I asked my doctor about it. I found out during COVID, which is not a good thing. I asked my doctor about it, and he's like, "Yeah, it's environmental. You probably had it growing in you for years." So I surmise that it's probably from all of that way back when. It was my job to take care of the lawn. It was my chore to cut the lawn. My bedroom windows were right there next to the cornfield. And so you could smell every time that crop duster went over. Yeah. So
The it sounds like a significant amount of pain and suffering, right? Obviously, like that your family has literally you've lost lives over this terrible adjacency, right? It wasn't even happening right on you; it was just happening right next to you, and it was floating over to the house and ruining all your stuff.
yeah,
So, I mean, you are here
I'm here.
and you are thriving. You've had you beat the cancer and you were able to continue on to this day. You've had this wonderful career. I have two-part question. The first part is this experience and all the suffering that you've had. I want to know just therefore what for your life, right? What are those key takeaways that you had? What changed about the way that you live your life because of these experiences? Now the realization that it was all because of this. How have you changed your life? Right? How have you lived your life? Therefore what? And then continue on that vein for me and just tell me like what is your secret to a good life? Because obviously there's a lot of learning that you can take from these experiences. I'm curious how you have incorporated that and what you do daily to, honor that experience or honor your family or like overcome those issues. Talk to me about the therefore what's.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. So therefore, I this is my second company in the natural products industry. So I'm very passionate about helping people be able to find and afford the better stuff, right? So have a Kind bar versus a Snickers bar, have something that's gluten free versus Wonder Bread, use toxic lipstick versus stuff that you put on your lips that has lead in it. So I'm very, very passionate about the space, which has helped me with when things get tough, right? Remembering where the idea came from, right? So, and then I practice what I preach to a certain extent. It's not that I don't have maybe half a glass of wine occasionally or something like that, but I really try to buy better. I'm always looking for deals. So I kind of live, well, I don't kind of live, I live my talk. I try to walk the walk. The talk, is that the phrase? Walk the talk. So, and I really, really focus on health and wellness and making sure that I have a balance between work life, although I'm not super great about that, and work. It's hard. It's really hard, but I try to incorporate built with my company in my everyday life, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. My world is in functional medicine, right? I own a clinic that sells all sorts of things to people for discounted prices, right? To help them better their lives. And we do a lot of accountability and testing and coaching to help people optimize their health. So I want you to kind of live in the future state in the ideal world. A lot of people are fatalistic. They're like, oh my gosh, government's conspiracy and like people are all bad. And I'm very much of the opinion that most people are one standard deviation from the curve, from the mean on any topic. Most of us are right in the middle, 68% are like pretty normal ass people. And we just want to live a good life and not get poisoned by, the corn spraying people, next door.
Yeah. Yep.
And we visualize this utopia. this ideal state of the world. And there, I think there's a lot of people who maybe doubt that that's possible. But I want you to kind of, from your perspective, and right here you are on this mission, you have this strong why. Um, maybe prophesy best case scenario for the future and what we can do to actually bring that to pass. Right? How do we make a healthier world? How do we standardize better choices for people all over the world? And what are some of those things that are going to need to happen to get us there, right? Show us the what the future can hold based off of this space that you've embodied and that you've tried to live and you've tried to build a empire inside of.
Well, first, it's about education, really knowing what is better for you and better for the planet. Looking at science, believing in science, making more of those brands that are manufacturing the better products for you, right? It has to be for you. I mean, you may be able to eat gluten. You may be okay with non GMO versus organic or whatever it may be, right? You may eat animals, and there's other people that are vegan. But being able to make those better choices and being able to afford those better choices. So, if we can somehow democratize the way people can in buying products, I think we're going to be able to have better products out there in the world. The other products aren't going to be bought, right? And they'll go bye bye. And those brands that are making those products that aren't as good are going to go bye bye as well.
Have you ever had a hot Cheeto before though, right? That's our poison in our household. That's the tough thing is you're talking about decreasing demand for negative products. It comes from education, right? We realize that the red 40 is bad. We realize that the corn syrup and everything that is used to produce those products is not good for us. But they're also designed to be inherently addictive, right? Like your body wants more of that. Um, I mean, how do you battle that? I still buy hot Cheetos for my family and I know that they're not good for them. It's one of our only vices. We're typically pretty healthy. We're both, health coaches and jujitsu coaches. But here we are educated. And yet even we still make what would be considered an educated bad decision. It's like our vice.
But
Yeah.
that vice isn't as bad as other vices. So, and if you have it in limited amounts and you're really, very aware of it, you're not going to I have a whole bag of that, right? It's a treat, but maybe you have to recondition yourself too. So my husband is very healthy and, he always gets on me and everybody else about sugar, but then he buys Coca-Cola. Yeah, that's his vice. So it is really interesting. So I think it's going to be an incentive based type of thing where you really, maybe you have to be disincentivized to have hot Cheetos, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or get
Uh,
sick. If you got sick, then that would be a problem too.
It's usually, an event that will catalyze that experience, or you get like a friend that comes down with hot Cheeto-induced cancer, and you're like, "Oh my
Right.
god, well, okay, hot Cheetos are off the menu now." A
Right.
catalyzing event, they call it. Well, Karen, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, just my email, karin.frame@makeena.com. You go to makeena.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/Karin S. Frame. And yeah, just reach out to me any way you want and happy to have a discussion.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
This has been the Pulse Ox podcast. Please, if you found this episode valuable, give us a like on Spotify and share it with a friend.